Welcome to Mindfully Integrative Podcast with your host, Dr. Damaris G. Mindfully Integrative is a podcast discussing ways toward mindfully incorporating integrative health into our lives. This podcast will have informative resources, fun topics, interviews, and discussions relatable for today with a true mindful perspective in a mind-body, holistic life approach.
Hi, how are you? This is Dr. Damaris Maria Grossman, and let's talk about 5 most common tests as a functional medicine provider would give you. So, and how it refers different to than your traditional lab. So, what traditional labs usually are consisting of a CBC, thyroid panel, and maybe a lipid panel when you're doing an annual physical. The problem with those, not that there is a problem necessarily, but it does not get down to a cellular level. So most common when you're looking and someone says, I'm a functional provider and I offer these different kinds of labs, the main thing is you're trying to really look at underlying causes of certain things. That could be parasites, that could be infection, that could be bacterial, it could be Epstein-Barr, it could be mold, it could be toxicity, it could be the microbiome. There's many of an array of things. So the top 5 tests that are usually ordered are the GI map, which is stool testing PCR. And I always order that. So that's top 5. And absolutely so effective. It gives you everything in the microbiome from mouth to the tush. And it'll give you a whole overall. Now then, the next one is called the Dutch or the Dutch oat. And what that is, it's a urine test, and that gives you a comprehensive hormone testing. And what that usually is men or women can take it, and it'll give you an idea of where your cortisol levels are. If they're up, they're down, they're low, wherever they may lie, and it kind of gives you an idea. Then there's the oat test, which is an organic acid test. With this test, it gives you a baseline of where your metabolic lies, also where your stomach acid, kind of where you and your initial moods, digestion, fatigue, brain fog, markers of kind of if you have yeast, excess bacteria, things of those nature. Then there's some individuals that will also put in for SIBO testing. That's called small intestine bacterial overgrowth. That's a breath test usually. And most of the time, that's usually for individuals that may have burping, they may have reflux, they have very excess bloating, and to know that there's a excess colonization in the small intestines. And that small intestines is where you absorb, and you're not absorbing enough when there is an overgrowth. So you're not getting the right nutrients within the body. So no matter what supplements you take, no matter what nutrients you take, it's not adequate. So overall, you're kind of looking at a dysbiosis there. Partial dysbiosis is imbalance within the gut, and then also leaky gut too. So, but the small, that's just one area that sometimes is not always looked at. And then top 5 too, majority of the time, you are looking at sensitivity issues in the food. So what we eat, what we put in our body is super important. And I know that this is controversial. So some people will say, oh, I don't think that the IgG sensitivity tests will be helpful, but they are. Sorry to tell you, but people are sensitive to certain things, and there's certain foods that are good for them and certain foods that are very sensitive. And when you say sensitive, that means your gut and your biome and your body is saying, hey, do not give me this because I will inflame. I will have an automarker. And then eventually it will cause long-term effects. I know this may be controversial for some, but when you really look down the root cause and you start to see these things are true. That's why when someone says to you, I have lactose intolerant, but it doesn't bother me that much. Well, guess what? It really does bother you. And when you're eating like that on the regular and you eat like crap, you feel like crap. So that's just my 5 tests for the day. Hope that helps. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Mindfully Integrative Show with Dr. Damaris Maria Grossman, family nurse practitioner. This podcast is for informational and educational purposes only and is not to substitute for professional medical advice, diagnose, or treat. Always consult your healthcare provider before making changes to your healthcare routine. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. If you enjoyed our show, please support us by leaving a mindful review on Apple Podcasts or your favorite streaming platform. Interested in being a guest? or more information, email us at info@mindfullyintegrative.com. For resources mentioned in the show, visit our website at www.mindfullyintegrative.com. You can also connect mindfully with Dr. Damaris on her social media links found on the site. May your strength and peace guide you to find a mindful way every day. Namaste.